We have nowhere to go and nothing to do. Just simply be present and be open. We'll enjoy 3 sounds of the bell together. Dear spiritual and land ancestors, dear beloved Thai, dear beloved community, today we have a session of questions and responses. And on the panel, you see 3 of us are familiar. There's Brother Phap Yung, Valerie, and me. And we have another member, another OG of the community. And I call him Uncle, Stephen Nackerson. And our uncle has come to the practice also for many years. And what I cherish so much about him is that his presence is incredibly loving, peaceful, and gentle. He comes to the monastery very often, especially in retreats. And he's there for the sangha. He practices with the sangha. He's non-assuming, non-demanding. He's just a sequoia. So it's a chance for you to ask questions from the heart. Let us practice loving speech and deep listening, knowing that not many of us will be able to ask questions. So it means that those of us who have a chance to ask questions, we're actually asking for many others as well. Those who are present and also those who are not present physically here. So let us come from a place of wishing, wanting to understand, to know how to practice so that we may bring peace and reconciliation to ourselves, our families, and also to our society. Questions come from your hearts will benefit many. And they don't have to be very long. If we are concentrated, our mind is present, our questions can go straight to the heart. And we will respond to the questions one by one, and only one of us will respond to one question. So we will not take too much time so that others have a chance to answer. And also we know that the questions and the responses inter-are. Even if you don't get to ask the questions or the response is such, but if we listen with an open heart, we will find our questions and the responses in others' questions and responses as well. So in that way, it can be very nurturing and very fulfilling for all of us. Okay? So with that, I'd like to invite those who already have questions to come up, and one can sit on the chair and others can sit on the cushions. And before a question, my brother will invite a sound of the bell so we can all breathe and touch a deep place inside us. So with that, please feel welcome to come up. The first person will be a very brave person. It'll make it much easier for those who come behind you. Good, Lily. Come. Wonderful. Okay. So we'll enjoy one sound of the bell.
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, this is Lily bowing in. I think I speak for everyone when I say my heart's going to pound out of my chest. My question is, I feel so safe here, and soon the retreat will end, and I know life is impermanent, but how do we stay safe outside of a BIPOC Sangha? How do we stay safe out in the real world?
Dear Thai, dear beloved community, dear Lily, thank you for being the first one. Yeah, it takes a lot of courage and bravery, yeah. So I want to acknowledge that. And such a beautiful question, and this is a question that I have asked myself many, many times. How do I stay safe? How do I regulate my nervous system when I feel unsafe, triggered, when I'm on hypervigilance because of my surroundings or because of projections that I'm holding about other people that are mine that I'm projecting onto other people. So luckily, our teacher has given us some very specific instructions about how we can take care of ourselves. how we can come back home to ourselves. So one practice that I use all the time is the 4 mantras, and actually, because they're all interconnected, these mantras, I just stop with the first mantra. I start and stop with the first mantra. And so the mantra is, darling, call your name. So, darling, Valerie, I'm here for you. I let that mantra sink into every pore of my body. I'm here for you. I've got your back. You're not alone. I'm here for you. Darling, I'm here for you. And really feel that. And by doing that, we are recognizing the need to take care of ourselves, to embrace the suffering that's coming up, to hold it gently until it transforms itself into something else. So I find that mantra really, really powerful. So rather than looking at other people, and for me in particular, it's other white people. Oh, this white person did this, and then, and that is so like sexy in a way and seductive, to turn the attention on the white person that I think is the cause of my suffering, so that I don't touch the deep sadness and the deep rage that's underneath all of that. And so the work for me is to hold myself with great care and great love and compassion, and offer that to myself. And this has been very, very difficult for me, because like many BIPOC people, number one, I grew up believing I didn't have any needs. Like, what's a need? And so running, constantly on the run, like, gotta make something of myself to be somebody in the world. So to stop all of that, to practice stopping and to look deeply at that. Where did that come from? Right? To notice the inclination to want to grab onto, let me project onto this white person, and to take care of my own suffering. I'm not talking about narcissism, and I'm not condoning structural or systemic discrimination. Institutional change is needed, right? This is true. And we can provide for ourselves. We can take care of our nervous system. So I offer this mantra, darling, I'm there for you. And practice this. I mean, I would practice this like countless times during the day until I really believed it was true. And what that did for me was it adjusted my nervous system so I wasn't quite so on high alert. I could look at my projections that I had about other people, and then kind of invite in a question, like, what's really happening here? Inquiry, So actually, I've shared several practices just in this response. The practice of the mantra, and then the seminal practice of stopping and looking deeply, inquiry, into what is really happening, to take care of our body, our speech, our mind, our heart. So I hope that that's useful, Lily. Thank you for the question.
Hello, everyone. My name is Davida, and my pronouns are she, her. Just to place my question into context, I am the oldest living relative in my family, and everyone else has passed away. Everyone was an only child, and since they were only children, since they were an only child, they are no longer here. I have one younger sister, one younger brother, and my sister has a child, and that's my entire family line. So I spend a lot of time, by myself or with them, and sometimes it feels very isolating. The holiday season can be very hard because I'm used to being alone or just with a small group of people, and the only constant that I've had in my life is my dog Midnight, who passed away the day before I got here. We had 14 years together, and he's been my only stability. So if anyone has anything to offer my grief, he's been my everything and my best friend. And if you can offer anything, I would greatly appreciate it.
Dear Ty, dear beloved community, I have a dog. Her name is Kuro, which in Japanese means black. She's 13, going well 13 and a half, and there was a talk before about soulmate. I remember seeing a bumper sticker that said, God is my co-pilot. This was a Christian kind of thing, I guess. And then I saw another bumper sticker that said, dog is my co-pilot. And I really resonated with that. So I'm totally resonant with your feelings about your dog. In fact, one of the things in Asian communities, and certainly for Asian men, it's very difficult to show any kind of emotion. The only emotions to show are really anger. That's acceptable. But showing love and tenderness is very, very difficult. And the only time I ever saw my father be loving and tender was to our dog. And we had 3 boys in our family, and that's the way we kind of showed a love and tenderness to each other, was to our dog. We couldn't do it with each other directly. We did it indirectly. I'm also the oldest, the oldest living member of my family. My brothers are younger than I am, and but I still feel very connected with Mom and Dad. I never knew my grandparents very well. They didn't speak English, and I only saw them a few times. But Mom and Dad were there, and so my mom passed away at the age of 98 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago. And before she passed away, well, many years before she passed away, I'd asked her, what kind of funeral would you want? You want a Buddhist funeral? Do you want a Christian funeral? And she said, I don't want a funeral. She said, I want a celebration of life. And so I said, Mom, I can do that. I can do that. And so what we did when she passed away was that I got together with my brothers and I told them about that. And then my father had passed away 50 years earlier. He died very young. And we never had a funeral for him. It was just such a shocking thing, and he was the sort of person that didn't really want a lot of ceremony either. So his remains were cremated, and we spread them at sea from an airplane. And so we never really had a ceremony for him. So I told my brothers, I said, let's have a celebration of life for Mom and Dad. And so they were all on board. They said, that's a great idea. And so we did. We planned an event, and it caused us to go back and really find out a lot more about our parents, because we wanted to be able to honor them. My brother was very close to my father, so he did the talk about my father, and I was very close to my mother, and so I did the talk about my brother, and my youngest brother was sort of the MC. And we had an event at the Japanese American National Museum, so which was a very fitting place for their legacy. And it turned out that the day we chose, we didn't choose that day. That day was kind of chosen for us. There were only so many days that were open. But it turned out that that was the anniversary of Executive Order 9066, which was the executive order that incarcerated the Japanese. So it was really meaningful for us and the people that we invited. I don't know if any of my sangha members that were there are here today, but I invited people from my sangha, and my brothers invited, and we had all of the children, the grandchildren, and the great-grandchildren, and they were all there, and that was kind of the other reason that we did it, was that we wanted to let them know. They didn't know, or my children didn't know. They knew my mother, but they never knew my father. So we wanted them to know who these people were. So I did a video, I did a talk, my brother did a slideshow, and we played a lot of music that they loved, you know, music from the 40s, and then we found some pictures of my parents. We had one of their wedding picture, and we blew it up on a big thing, and another picture of them at a later age. But they're with me. They're with me, and they're always with me. I said at the ceremony, Mom and Dad were special. And what I mean by that is that they were special to us, just as your parents were special to you, and your parents are special. And they are always with you. They'll never leave you. And you will always be with them. So there's no reason to feel alone. You can cry and cry. Because that's how much it meant to you, and that's how much it will always be for you. But you're not alone. Just remember that you're not alone.
Dear Tay, dear Sangha, panelists, my name is Love, and I have anxiety in groups and being in community. Sometimes I feel like a mark, and if there's going to be drama somewhere in the community, that it's going to come to me as an empath of some kind, and it tends to, and I was triggered by the sequoia remark of how I can build up my sequoia and sort of be under the radar or be better in community and still stay authentic to my experience. I've heard that doing everything on your own is a trauma, and I've always freelanced, and, being in an office space, and I could always do the job, but I always felt like after a few months there would be some type of drama. So it's just sort of like, my question is how to build up being in community and, existing in community. Which can be challenging. Even though your intentions are good, I don't know, there's misunderstandings, and I'm so tired sometimes of explaining myself over and over, or I don't know. So just wanting to find ways to retreat, but also be in the world, feeling overwhelmed with America and colonialism and wanting to retreat to Vietnam, which isn't perfect, but just trying to exist in community when it feels overwhelming or things are coming at you. Yeah.
Dear Thai, dear beautiful spiritual family, community is a big emphasis in our tradition. Yeah, it is Thai's insight into what is needed for the 21st century and onwards. Thai has said that the 20th century is marked by materialism and violence and individualism, consumerism, and so on. And they're very linked, the separation. So this is, I think, a beautiful point in our human family evolution. And then I see evidence of that. Ecology, less human-centric. So it's expanding what that means to be in the world. Because, there's a lot of it. It's individually, I was trained like that as well. Remember the learning curve? Like you have to be in front of the learning curve. That was the mechanism in education to feel yourself separate and that you can be better. And so for me, I also suffered from an individualistic approach to things. Everywhere, in my career, in my driving, in my standing at the elevator, it's always feeling like separate and not belonging. And that was a real pain in my, it's related to my own family and my Vietnamese ancestry as well, and not wanting to do, it's all very linked into being and all the condition. So when I met Thai, I remember, community, I remember saying, man, community is a verb. I remember that phrase, and it still sticks with me, meaning it is not a thing, but it is a practice. And so this is a practice of not feeling separate. So find community and build community, and then practice community. And for me, that's always an ongoing process because part of community is also finding time for solitude. But solitude not as an individual, but solitude for the benefit and continuation of community. So when I take care of myself and when I'm in nature, hiking, sitting in the forest, I'm also in community. And so this is not just with human beings. It is the whole planet. The oak trees, the grass below me, the birds' song. So here we sometimes have a reaction and aversion, and it's understandable, to be in drama all the time and to be confronted with, I call it the daily stuff. It could be, you can have some aversion to it. You get tired of it. So that's why replenishing yourself with solitude, but also building a community of spiritual practice, people who have affinity with you, that nourish you. So community is also a nourishment. Like you have to surround yourself with people that you can eat. They nourish you. They feed you. This is what? Say what?
I just want to sit next to Sequoia and feed from
Yes, exactly. Did you feel that here at the retreat? Did you feel fed besides the meals?
I mean, looking out, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, there you go. You see that? That's why I came up here, looking down. I eat them, I mean, what is nourishment, right? You nourish me. And so you have that capacity.
At first it's terrifying to look out, but then you look out and you're like...
That's right. You see the terrifying stuff? Right. Anytime you feel that, that's why the personal practice and being in solitude, so you love yourself, as Sister Valerie has shared. I'm here for you. I'm not disconnected. I'm part of a bigger family than these kind of people that annoy me. Sorry, I mean, no discrimination, but sometimes, no, you gotta go away and take care of yourself. It's not nourishing right now, and you have to discriminate. This selective is a better word. Yeah, there's a moment where you cannot handle a noisy room, so don't go in the noisy room. That's my practice. You see that? And you do that not as a separate being, as an individual, but you do it for them. Because you come back and you're not full of all this irritation and reaction, and then you can change the situation. The more stronger you become, the more mindful you become, you can change the whole room by one comment. Or you don't react when you're supposed to, and everyone looks at you and like, come on, it's like, you see that? Because of our own kind of comfort with ourselves. You see, there's no dissonance. They are you. I irritate many of my brothers and sisters. That was a big nod, huh? Wow, okay. Oh boy, I better stop here.
Keep going.
All right. Yeah, this is community. Like when I really say it is a practice. I don't have it perfected. I still get annoyed. I still have my limit. But not as an individual, okay? I know what is going on here. We are doing this together. It is the mantra. It is the way out for the planet. We gotta do it together, including all the colors. There's no way out of that. So to fortify yourself, find the correct food for yourself, whatever that is on your path. Be nourished and become the sequoia. It is not out there. You have that inside. And I can feel you have it. But it's just a matter of more training in the nuance of irritation. These little things. Yeah. Don't always be right. Don't be always great. Let others be right. So these little nuance things, you come to the monastery, you get trained in that. Work on a team, and then stuff comes up, and you learn how to slowly let go of these little triggers that become huge. And so that's more training, and then understanding how our mind works and our perception. And that's very key to community, because a lot of the things we have, it comes from a kind of a bias that we are not aware of. And that gives that separation, right? So please, build community, connect to community that nourish you and then replenish you. And then the other is also when you practice solitude, find solitude so you can practice, I'm here for myself, I am my community, as well as go the non-human community. The lizards, the flies, they're all communicating with you. The carrot that you're going to eat later, that's part of you. Who built that? Who cooked it? You see, so that gratitude, all of a sudden, it keeps expanding. And that will give you that spiritual strength to confront every time you're challenged. And so you don't feel that disconnect. That's training. Thank you for your practice.
Wow, look at all of you. Sorry. Sorry, there's so much power up here. Dear Sangha, my name is Awa Moon, young Scott Barnett. I am a Black trans woman, and I am part of the eucalyptus family, the eucalyptus tree family, who has held me in like some of the most beautiful ways that I have ever felt. And to enter this conversation, I'm gonna ask you, some of you, to just raise your hand if you, in any capacity, are a part of like the LGBTQAI plus community. Yeah. Can we look at that? Can we like take a look, right? This is a BIPOC sangha. There's so many Black and brown and beautiful people who fall under this family, right? Which is also like a myth that we aren't here, that we don't show up. So I'm so grateful to be here with all of you. And I haven't met all of you, but I see you, and I love you, and I appreciate your practice. Yes, so with that said, I would just like to say, the way you've explained being your soulmate has helped me greatly as a Black trans person. I think the way Black trans women in the United States have a life expectancy of 35 years old. I am 31, okay? Valerie, the way you have talked about race and Black womanhood has helped me greatly. Also, Sister Peace, if you're here, thank you for all the work you've done. So I asked that because I am preparing to do the 5 mindfulness trainings tomorrow, which I'm deeply excited about. But I wonder where I am in this tradition. I wonder where my body lives in this tradition, if my mind and my body are regularly meeting. What chances of I to become a monastic in this tradition, right? Because at this moment, if I had to pee, I would have to walk up to the kitchen to use the only gender fluid bathroom, or go back to where I am staying. So that's about 15 minutes if I just wanted to walk mindfully over there and not run. Right, 20 if I'm very mindful. So I asked that because I want to be here. I want to be in this tradition. I am willing to sacrifice, to step away from my family, to step away from the internet, to step away from life. To be a monastic, right? Like I'm willing to do reigns, I'm willing to become a novice, I'm willing to do all of these things. But where do I sleep if I come here? And where do I go to the bathroom? Just the bare things, if I'm willing to give up my life for the people, for the love, for humanity, to be among such honorable people, to be someone in Thai's heart. I'm so willing to commit myself, but I just do not see a way. So are there a way for what's just about half of the people in here to become monastics, for queer and trans people to become monastics within the Plum Village tradition? Thank you.
dear beloved Thai, dear beloved community, by the process of elimination, I guess it's my turn. Lucky me. Well, first of all, I'd like to say that after being a nun for 24 years, I've realized that being a nun is not a sacrifice for anybody, but for myself. Maybe in the beginning when I came to the practice, I had so much suffering and I wanted to find true peace in myself. So actually I started with for my own sake. Yeah, I just wanted true peace because I tried everything else. Having a very successful academic career, having a very loving relationship. Yeah, achieving what I thought would bring me happiness all along and would make up for the suffering in my life. But as I had all those positive conditions, I wasn't happy and I wasn't stable. And something happened, trauma took place, my partner died, and suddenly nothing meant anything anymore. Because I just realized anything can just be taken away from me at any moment. So I really wanted to find peace within so that I can be eventually a sequoia. So to this day, I continue to be a nun for that very reason. And then from that place, I contribute to the community. I contribute to many others who need, who find resonance with my sharing, with my life, my practice, with what the community offers. So I want you to recognize that. It sounds selfish, but it's not. When we do it in the spirit of interbeing, that in me, there are my parents, my ancestors. In me, there's my brother. In me, there's you. And the only really concrete, loving way that I can do is to care for myself. And everything will just come from that place. In terms of facility, honestly, if there are more trans, more non-binary friends who would like to become monastic, it will manifest. The facilities will manifest, right? Because we have a saying in Vietnamese, "Đất lành chim đậu." So there's the wholesome earth, then the birds will come and land. And when you come, the earth, the sky, the sangha will provide. It's just, when we come, we ask ourselves our intention. Because I know there are some friends who also ask, what's my place here if I am in the LGBTQIA plus community? Then, I say, when we sit, do you find a place that you can sit? And we sit like this, 5-10 years ago, we would sit. Brothers and men would be on one side, and sisters and women would be on the other side, right? In sitting meditation, it was like that. And but now you see that in sitting meditation, we put in this arrangement so that everybody can just sit wherever we want. And so in that way, the Sangha also evolves because we see that there is a need, that there are those who share, who speak up, with, authenticity, with love, and that helps the Sangha to evolve along the way. So this morning, actually, my sister said that some friends in the LGBTQIA plus group share that, the dharmas, it's great, but it sucks because you don't know where to go. Maybe it was you who said that, where to use the restroom. And first I thought, well, that's too bad because, the Dharma is the Dharma. It rejoices. Don't couple it with the lack of many restrooms because that would be a pity. You see, we need to acknowledge the positive conditions and celebrate. And yes, there is that lacking, but our facilities are limited for everybody, not just for any particular group. So those of you who can, please donate. Please help us to, build more facilities, to have more restrooms so that it's enough for our friends, that we can feel comfortable, a toilet block where we feel we can go and we don't have to choose one way or the other, right? It can be neutral. So those are the things that if you can donate money or your labor, your skills, come to the sangha and offer. And in that way, we can help make it happen. Because for us, the nuns, we lived without a nun's residence for 16 years. We just had the nun's residence in 2016. For the brothers, actually, they're building their first residence right now. They're still living in old quarters, just renovated, That's almost 21 years we don't have. So in that way, you understand it's a limitation in terms of financial, of building codes and everything. But when it comes down to it, if you come and with the sincerity of practice and you see that every activity is for everybody, it's open. So we see this as a home, and we build and we contribute, and when there are needs, they will be met. Yeah. So please contribute. Please come and stay with us long term, and join us. Thank you, dear ones.
Hi everyone, my name's Esther. I go by they or she, but I identify as non-binary. I don't identify with binary constructions of sex and gender. I am sitting here holding a lot of conversations throughout this retreat, a lot of different perspectives, questions. What matters to me is collective learning. I'm here in this space, new to sangha, learning about Buddhism, only having found out last month. My mom's side of the family grew up as Buddhist, but I was raised in a Christian church. I come here as an organizer and a teacher of ethnic studies. I teach about the systems of colonialism and white supremacy and capitalism, and how we become atomized and controlled within these structures, and how we're able to organize collective resources, our labor, our gifts, capital, in order to meet collective needs in a system that keeps us from understanding what we collectively have to offer and what we collectively need. I'm trying not to get too theoretical because I was also talking to my affinity group and heard there's a sense of overwhelm and a need for space to process. I also have just been learning so much from everyone to be in a BIPOC sangha, to really understand outside of all the appropriations and institutionalization of diversity rhetoric, to really understand what diversity means and what that makes possible and how we're able to understand the world we live in and what we're able to do about it. Yes, okay. I guess my question, because I have felt the lack of space for dialogue and the lack of space for the perspectives of people who have showed up here with a purpose and what matters to them in this space. Due to, I think, the ways the space has been structured, I guess I want to turn the question to folks in the Sangha, but also recognizing you all are here, so maybe you all can have more space to talk as well. I guess the question of, let me think. The question of what matters to you and what do you want to be possible in this shared space that we have together? Also, if anyone wants to speak.
Well, dear Thai, dear community, First, let me just validate and acknowledge what you've shared, which is so powerful. Both the individual and the collective perspective, that this is a community that we are co-creating together. And what came to my mind as you were speaking, it might be one of Thai's calligraphies, where he said something like, the next Buddha is the sangha. The next Buddha is the sangha. And I think that really is, for me, this is what is coming up. That for both for your share and our moon share, that the community that we want to create, we get to choose that. We get to create that. And that is both a responsibility and actually, in my mind, a duty, right? It is a spiritual duty. It is a spiritual responsibility, not just for the people who are sitting here, but for our grandchildren. Think about the grandchildren who will be sitting here 50 years from now. What is the kind of sangha that we want to create for those people? We create that right now. So this is such a beautiful and powerful question. What do we want to do? I can't remember exactly what you said, but something like, what do we want to do? What do we want to create? That's on us. That is on us to do that. We can't put it off there and say, oh no, somebody else won't let us, or this. No, this is a spiritual power and responsibility and duty that we have. So I would ask us, collectively and individually, to consider that question. Very powerful question that has been invited. And from that question, action will arise. It kind of follows the Eightfold Path, beginning with right thinking, right? Which leads to action. So I would encourage us in that direction. Maybe we could all, after this, kind of have a little collective communication together about what will the next BIPOC retreat look like. And I was thinking, this is the 20th anniversary. Will I be here the next 20 anniversary, the next 20 maybe not, but whether I'm here or not in this physical manifestation of a body, I'm thinking of the people, the descendants, the children and their children, and what we create for those people. So thank you for that question. Very beautiful.
Hello, my name is Denise. It's hard to follow those two really powerful questions, really resounding questions, but I'll try. So I come from a long line of really strong, badass women. My mom has like 5 sisters and really independent mothers, tough women, tough as nails, but equally miedosas, navigating the world through fear. So my question is about fear. Why does it take root? Where does it come from? Why does it thrive? Why does it win sometimes? Yeah.
He's getting back at me for nodding so vigorously when he said, Dear beloved Thầy, dear beautiful family, thank you for your question. Not too long ago, just a couple of weeks ago, we had a guided meditation on our tour to the East Coast. And in the guided meditation, it said, breathing in, I am aware of my fear. And breathing out, I calm and embrace my fear. And also the next one is about the insecurity. And as I was breathing with it, I realized that actually I don't have a lot of fear and insecurity, thanks to the practice. I definitely still have sadness and anger. It's called suppressed anger. But fear and insecurity were the 2 very strong emotions throughout my life. Fear of abandonment, of not having a place in the world, of not deserving a place in the world. And fear and security, in that way, they are partners. They are 2 sides of the same coin. But through the practice, through learning to be my own soulmate, I recognize that it stems from that sense of a wounded self. As we grow up, some of us were more fortunate than others. If we had a stable home, loving parents who reassure us, that helps. That helps a lot. And I'm doing that for my niece now. I would acknowledge her, recognize her, praise her. The other day I said to her, Gong, my child, you're just gorgeous, you're brilliant. And she said, thanks. And I said to her, I'm so glad that you have confidence in yourself. Nobody had ever told me that growing up. Never. I'm sure my mother loved me. I'm sure my grandmother loved me. I'm sure there were those who loved me. But because of our culture, because of different dynamics, they couldn't tell me those things. And because of that, I guess I grew up feeling uncertain about myself. But in the practice, we learn, like Valerie was sharing, to say, breathing in, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I do the same thing every day, many times a day. I'm here for you. I love you. I'm so grateful for you. Before I came to the meditation hall, I lay down, I breathe, and I just say, I love you. Thank you for all the efforts you make every day to be there for yourself and to show up for the sangha. I don't always have that energy, but I keep trying. And I'm grateful for my efforts. And I'm able to do it because I keep coming back to myself. It's a well that I didn't know how to access, but the practice helped me to access that well deep within. Mindful breathing, mindful steps, loving speech, and deep listening to myself, moment to moment, helps to reassure me that I can count on myself. I can trust that I don't abandon myself. I don't neglect myself. I don't escape myself. And I don't abuse myself with negative thoughts, negative speech, and negative bodily actions. I'm very confident in that now, that I'm able to do that for myself. I may be still unskillful with others, but at least to myself, I am kind. And that is a very solid place to start with. Fear exists because we feed it. Just like an emotion hormone can last only, its half-life is only 69 seconds. Anger, all other strong emotions are the same. The half-life is only 69 seconds. And how do we manage to be so angry and fearful and jealous and insecure for so long? Not just a day or weeks or months, but years, our whole life. It's because we feed in the narratives of self, sabotage, so just all that negativity we feed about ourselves, about others, all those narratives. So for me, mindful breathing helps clear my mind so that there's not so much of that toxic talks, dialogue going on in my mind. And I can breathe and release and be spacious a lot quicker and a lot more often in my daily life. And that's self-love. Really, when I think negatively about myself or others, it's toxin for my own body. I'm the first one to suffer from it, nobody else. It's me. So in that way, out of self-compassion, we practice. And when you can trust yourself, my dear, fear will lessen. Fear will be transformed into self-confidence, self-love, self-trust. Insecurity is the same. Even when I do something wrong, I don't say, you're so stupid. Why did you do that? Why did you say that? I don't say that to myself anymore. I just say, I'm really sorry I said that. I'm really sorry I thought that about myself or about somebody else. I just do beginning anew internally, moment to moment. And I'm not ashamed of that even like the question to our friend, I think I could have responded better, and I recognize that. But I accept where I am, and I answer from where I am and with my best intention. And I can always improve that, but it doesn't mean I have to put myself down for that. You see? So there's that self-acceptance as we go along. It's okay. It's okay that I still make mistakes, that I still have my weaknesses, but I still love myself for all the efforts that I make each moment, each day. And I don't escape from myself because I'm so ashamed of all those things. But I show up and say, I'm here. I recognize that. We'll do better. Yeah? So You deserve that, my dear.
Hello, everyone. I'm Virginia, she, her, hers. Dear Ty, dear beloved community, dear OGs. My heart is really tender right now. There is a benefit if you go first because you don't have all that, and now I'm a little bit weepy from all the questions. My question actually evolved over this time, but one thing that's really important to me is family. And, well, it was a very loving family. It was a very dysfunctional family. And one of my core issues is, and will always be with me, is this feeling of being alone. Not lonely, because I have such a beautiful community of people, but you always, no matter what, feel alone and abandoned. And I now have my own family, and even that, my first retreat was in 2016 at the POC retreat, and I just decided to leave my marriage of 17 years. And so the vision of what I thought would be my family that I would create no longer was that vision anymore. And then my core family of the one I grew up with, my parents, like, my dad has a stroke and is no longer cognitively with us, so even though he's here, he doesn't even know, like, it's me. And my mom is very toxic, and I love her very deeply, but I do not like her, and she's not kind, and she's not very emotionally or mentally nourishing. I do have a relationship with her, but I'm mourning and grieving for the family that I wish I had. And I'm grieving the loss of my dad, even though he's still physically here, and I'm grieving the love I want from my mom that I will never get. And I feel like I'm drowning in my own sadness, and I recognize that, like, something needs to shift, and I've been practicing letting go, and I'm trying to practice accepting my situation, but it's really hard. And so I just wonder if there's any advice, because I do want to feel at peace within myself. Thank you.
Dear Ty, dear beloved community, dear Virginia. The previous question was about fear and being in the company of these very wise teachers. So the question, I guess, is how do I feel connected to my family, to feel love for my family, when there are so many things that are challenges. I guess I can speak to that in terms of my relationship with my wife. We have a lot of challenges. And I can say that I love her, but it is hard for me to feel that. Because the challenges sort of get in the way of that. So a lot of it has come from the fact that I wanted things to be a certain way. I expected them to be a certain way. And it didn't happen that way. And it was my projection, my expectation that I was putting on it. So what I'm trying to come to now is more accepting what it is. Not necessarily liking what it is, but accepting what it is and being okay with that. And being okay with it's not the way I wanted it to be, it's not the way I expected it to be. But it's okay. And if there's certain things that I need in my life that aren't coming from that place, there are other places to find what it is that you need. I talked before about my dog. And that sort of connection. I mean, there's nothing I like more than taking my dog for a walk. We're totally together, and that feeling of connection. I think that's what we're all looking for. We're all looking for connection. We're all looking for love, and wherever it will come from, we hope it will come from. We expect it to come from certain places, but sometimes it doesn't. And I guess we just have to say, okay, well, but there's love coming from lots of other places. There's love coming here, and we can feel it. And I think that's why we're all here. I mean, basically, that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. That's all we're looking for. And we can all have it if we open ourselves up to it.
Acceptance is a wonderful practice. in my own personal transformation, my family, is also a practice of looking deeply. So in Buddhism, acceptance is very powerful, but more powerful is looking deeply, meaning insight. You have to have. So we've been recommended not to think about the past. That's not really how it should be phrased. It's not be caught by the past. Okay, so in the sutra, it's called the burden by the past. So in our practice, if we learn to sit still and be nourished and have all the life force that, without a lot of that disturbance, right? Then we can look very deeply at our history, our past. That is the power of meditation. So it's not just accepting, but looking deeply so you understand why in the present moment it is so. Because your father has grown up in a certain way. So this is all about looking further back into your ancestry. In your particular father, in his situation, in your particular mom, your family, and whatever ancestry, Asian, Chinese, Vietnamese, Filipino. So you understand that it is not your own family and your own father, but it's the whole entire fatherhood of that particular region of the planet and the culture that he grew up in. So that's very powerful for me to begin to see. And the meditation that I concretely formed was the 5-year-old child. I remember the first time hearing and visualizing my father as a 5-year-old having to escape China. I never thought about that before, ever. And coming across this practice, and my body still tingles right now as I think of this, because that's how powerful it was for me to actually really feel the pain of my father, actually his father not being there for him. How could he? This is like running from China during the revolution, right? So in a way, you see what we call that generational stuff now, right? So for me, deep looking, we have to, and to do it without the emotion and the framing, these kind of things that we have, maybe we call them like biases or mental formations. That's why training to be in the present moment and being mere awareness about breath, why is that training important? Because that is the exact instrument you will use to examine everything, including the history of your family. And when I did that with my father, I began to, I would say, not love him, but really, I remember crying for myself and the father in me that I have cut off, and feeling guilty and shame for doing that. I remember, and I still feel a little of that guilt and shame that I remember in the kitchen yelling at my father and asking him to leave the house and that he's no longer my father. That is the most painful thing that I've ever done towards another human being, especially, someone who was vulnerable at that time. I took advantage of that and I attacked him. And I feel really, it's still in me. But then I look at myself as a 5-year-old, you see? And also feeling compassion for myself, for the best that I could have done. So in a way, deep looking is a very powerful tool if you can hone it, clarify your mind so you have that. And when you have that space and you don't have that pain, that's a good time to bring it up. See your father, 5-year-old. See him as a young teenager in whatever country and culture, that whatever disturbance. Where was his father for him? Where was his mother? And this exercise for me is not intellectual. You have to feel it. So it's not about rationalizing and coming up with, excuses and so on. But in meditation is through feeling, touching, holding, like a mother and a baby. The mother does not ask the baby, why are you crying? the mother holds the baby. So anytime you feel this need, the image is a mother holding a baby. And there's a particular way of holding the baby. So you're not constraining it, you're not demanding the baby to stop, but just pure, tender love. And when that baby, stops crying, then you can look clearly. It's like, oh, you're more clear, and you're not emotionally wanting the baby to stop crying. You can see, oh, maybe it's the fever, it's last night. And so that clarity for learning to stop when you have these emotions, and when you're not filled with that, you can look deeply at your history, at your family, your father. Again, like I said yesterday, revising it so it doesn't create, mold in us. And this is a 5-year-old child. So I think our teacher has a book, Reconciliation. It's a very powerful book. That book right there is a little tiny book, but it is the key to opening many doors in our locked rooms, right? So I recommend you to accept. It's a great practice as well, especially present moment, not reacting. But when you have space and you have calmness, like especially in a retreat, and you feel support, you can look deeply at that. These history that makes where this present moment is for you. And accepting there is soft. It's soft. It allows that softness. But then there's also Manjushri, which is also the sword that cuts through our narrative, our delusions, and so on, our biases. That is the source of the pain. Remember this morning you heard the sutra on the knife? Yes. That is a powerful passage this morning we heard. It is the root of all of our suffering. And we can do that by looking at it. So when you remove it, it's not removing it. It's actually looking at it, and it dissipates. You see that? It's very, personally, that is why I feel so indebted to this practice and why I continue to pass this on. It is so powerful. And you can see, when you do it for yourself, you can see its nature working on everyone's suffering as well. So this is something I think now you know. Now you have to practice, and you cannot. You have to do that internal work, or else it will continue and perpetuate. So please find a personal practice, find like-minded practitioner, so you can fortify this what you've tasted during this retreat. And thank you for your practice.
Dear beloved community, we have like about 10 minutes before lunchtime. Are you okay to take one more question? You okay? Okay, please come.
I was just saying no pressure as my last question. I really enjoyed our talk yesterday about anger and horizontal hostility. I'm coming back to this practice because of anger and rage. And rage has served me well in my professional career. And I've learned to separate it and compost it and transform it. I'm banned from speaking at certain schools in California and New York. So I've also nourished it with joy. But, show off, yeah, I'm trying. But in my personal life, I've learned that it's become incredibly destructive. And so I'm in this place where anger and rage feels very familiar to me and very comfortable. And I am not afraid of it. At the same time, in my personal life, because it's been so destructive, I'm terrified of having it turned into bitterness or resentment. And simultaneously, I'm so terrified of softening my heart. And it comes from the fact that I'm a complex trauma survivor. And so my rage is not just in that moment, it's the times that I've experienced trauma that I wasn't able to speak or fight back. And then I think of everyone else in my life who weren't able to speak or fight back. So my question is, how do I sit with my rage while still validating the fact that my rage and anger is righteous and valid?
Everybody just looked away.
I'm so glad we can laugh. Laughing is so important, you know, because these topics that we have brought up, they're weighty, you know, and so we also need the laughter. You know, it's like the Dharma rain. So, like, take in the laughter. You just laughed, take that in. Feel it. We call that gladdening the heart. We need to gladden our heart, right? Because of everything that we've shared here. So I'm sorry I did not get your name. Tamsin, thank you. So I know we have limited time, but I wanted to share several things. First, a story about my brother's personal story. I wrote about it in Healing Our Way Home. And in that book, you know, we talk about trauma, our own trauma. And so I have 3 brothers, and 2 of the 3 passed away recently from chronic heart failure. And the 3rd had a heart transplant a few years ago. So I became aware of the impact of heart disease in my family. And I started to look at why did they all have chronic heart failure? What was happening for them? And one of the things that I realized was I was, I am carrying around rage. And it, there's this thing that rage does in the body. It's a vasoconstrictor. It constricts the heart. Right? You can even feel it, like when you feel rage, everything gets tense and tight. And so they live most of their life with rage. Rage from discrimination, day in and day out. And so I became very, very interested in trying to understand the rage, and then seeing the rage in myself, and engaging in practices to take care of the rage that was so powerful in me. So I want to, again, validate and confirm and acknowledge that there may be really good reason to walk around with a sense of rage for the unfairness, for the injustices of the world, and that emotion can be the catalyst for action in the world. But it goes back to, again, specific instruction. We're so lucky. We got specific instruction from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He gave us specific instruction about what to do with the rage. He said, never succumb to the temptation of becoming bitter. Never succumb to the temptation of becoming bitter. As you move through the world to seek justice and peace, do that with a sense of love, with a sense of compassion. And so this is a practice for me, is to be able to make space for the rage, because the rage can take up a lot of space. It's been watered, right? That seed of rage has had a lot of airtime. So it's quite, strong. And so I don't push the rage out now. I don't get rid of the rage. What I do with the rage in me is I go back to that mantra. I see the rage. Darling, you're safe. Darling, I'm here for you. I got you. I understand why you feel the way you do. This makes so much sense to me. You are so right. And little by little, the kind of grip of that, the energetic force of that rage the energetic force of the rage can be transformed in its own time and in its own space. That rage can be the catalyst for something good in the world. We need all of this. We need the disappointments, the hurt, the resentment, the anger, and we compost it. We use that. We acknowledge it, and we transform it. And I do that, not just for myself, but for everyone that I'm in connection with. because I believe that if I can do that and I can transform a piece of that, I can support transformation for other people. And this is the practice that, that we've inherited from our teacher. 20 years ago, again, going back to my journal book, Thai talked a lot about non-discrimination, the wisdom of non-discrimination. We don't discriminate against the rage. We're tender with the rage. Try that. Try being tender with your rage. What would that be like? That is the wisdom of non-discrimination. So we're lucky. We have specific instruction and we have practices. So slowly, little by little, we practice. So thank you for the question.
Thank you, dear beloved family. Thank you for all of your heartfelt, genuine questions. And we're sorry we didn't get to yours, but hopefully you also benefited from all the questions and responses. Thank you, dear family, for being here. And if you wish, we still have Dharma sharing, that you can bring your questions to the Dharma sharing group, okay? And also to the group affinity today, after Dharma sharing. So there are still spaces for that. And tomorrow there'll be a Dharma talk, and our sisters will take into account and will share in their talks as well. Let us enjoy 3 sounds of the bell together.